So just this morning, I unboxed and set up the Apple Watch Series 6. I got the 44mm stainless steel option today, and I'm just kidding. Obviously, no. Apple doesn't send me stuff early, but I wanted to talk about the Apple Watch today, and then I just woke up to everyone posting their early Series 6 videos. So no, I did not get one early. Mine has not even shipped yet. I am waiting. But today I'm here to talk about why you probably shouldn't buy the Series 6. Some of you are interested in it, and I actually think this is one of the smallest Apple Watch upgrades of all time. Looking back at all the changes throughout the years, this one feels like one of the tiniest, and it's also kind of a shift in what we should expect with future Apple Watches. So without further ado, let's talk about why the Apple Watch SE is probably a way better deal. Let's begin. So it's very easy when watching the Apple event or when scrolling through the website to be like, whoa, there's so much new stuff. And there is a lot of things to talk about, but the truth is what is actually physically different on the Series 6 compared to the Series 5, I would say is pretty small. I would say it's pretty minor compared to years prior in changes we saw in the Apple Watch lineup in the past. It's pretty much just the blood oxygen sensor, which honestly, it goes into the category of health information that's kind of interesting, but at the same time, Apple reminds you this is not a medical device and you shouldn't use the Apple Watch in replacement of hospital-grade equipment. So, you know, when you're using the ECG app, it's like it doesn't check for heart attacks. So if you're known for having heart issues or you need to know your blood oxygen levels regularly, I guess it's helpful, but it's still not, 100% certifiable. It's not something you should use in replacement of dedicated equipment that is designed to track that type of stuff. And I feel like most of us aren't in that situation. There are a few outliers, but most of us don't need to know that at all times. And also a reminder, if you're under the age of 22, the ECG technically doesn't even work. You're supposed to be over that age, and you can technically lie to the health app and say, yeah, I'm 22 years old, and you can take an ECG, but I guess it's not as reliable if you're under that age. And the other biggest noticeable change with the Series 6 is the always-on display being twice as bright as before. Now, some of you may not remember, but I did buy and review the Series 5, and I decided it wasn't worth it. That was the first Apple Watch I bought and decided I don't want this. It's not a big enough change. And I sent it back because personally, I have never run into the issue of my Apple Watch not turning on when I need it to. Seriously, like the sensors inside my Series 4 from way back in 2018 are incredibly good at registering exactly when I need the watch face to turn on. Even if I give it just the ever so slight movement, it doesn't have to be very violent. I don't have to flick that wrist really hard in a certain way. It will just instantly light up whenever I need it to, which is, I guess, why always on display never appealed to me very much, because it just felt like I never needed it. It was just a feature that drained my battery faster when I wasn't using my watch in the first place, and again, never been an issue with my Series 4. Some of you may disagree, so I suppose the Series 6 is good for you, but other than all of these colors and all of these new watch bands and these new finishes that there's lots to talk about, like how this new solo loop works or this new braided loop and it's stretchy, and Apple lets you figure out what size you need at home, and the new red color looks dope, the new blue color looks dope. The truth is, these are probably the biggest changes this year with the Apple Watch. They have very little to do with the internals. Okay, you've got 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi on the watch, but no one was streaming YouTube videos. No one was doing any type of high-performance Wi-Fi on the watch on the first place, and it has the ultra-wideband chip, which Apple didn't even talk about on stage when they first introduced it in the iPhones last year. Here we are a year later, and we still don't really have that many useful examples of what the ultra-wideband chip is for. It's probably going to help with AirTags a little bit, so when they launch those, you'll probably be able to either find lost items on the Apple Watch Series 6 a little bit better than the SE, or if you lose your Apple Watch, it might be a bit easier to find that. But I feel like most people don't lose their watch because it's on their wrist or on the charger. So these are not features, in my opinion, that warrant opting for the Series 6. Sure, the Apple Watch SE is a little more boring because they didn't go all out with the marketing images and it only comes in 3 finishes, so it's less flashy. But if you're on the Series 3 or older and you're thinking about upgrading, in my opinion, the SE is covering everything that most of you will probably care about. The updated aesthetics, the bigger display, and no, it's not always on, but like I've said with my Series 4, it's really never been an issue. It's very, very sensitive to registering exactly when the watch is supposed to turn on. And the ECG thing is cool. It's interesting that they're able to implement that, and for some people with heart issues, I guess it makes sense to check that more regularly, but a lot of us don't have that issue, and if you're not known for having regular heart issues, I would say don't feel like you need it. Don't feel like the ECG is going to change your life, because I can easily get caught into these messes of like, well, for the past 20 years, I've never wondered what my blood oxygen level sensor is, but now that Apple's mentioning they're selling it in a product, now I feel like I should have blood oxygen level checked. Now I'm worried about it. Am I gonna die? Don't necessarily buy into that fear. If you're concerned about your heart or your blood oxygen levels, go see a doctor. Don't feel like the Apple Watch will cure you from all these issues. And also, I mean, you could buy a Series 6 to see if your blood oxygen's okay, and there's a decent chance you're gonna do that once or twice when you first get the watch, and maybe never again throughout the life of the watch. So if we look at years prior, I mean, when we had the first Apple Watch, again, that was the first Apple Watch, and then Series 2, we finally had IP water resistance. There was a slight design change, and the watch was able to shoot water out of the speaker grill and that kind of stuff. The display was even brighter on the Apple Watch Series 2, and then the Series 3, I would say was more of a minor year. There wasn't many design changes, but they finally did allow for cellular support, and Siri could actually speak out of the Apple Watch speaker, so they improved the sound on it a little bit, and of course, new finishes, new colors, new watch bands. We get that every year. Series 4, I think this was the biggest upgrade to the Apple Watch we had ever seen. It was finally a new display with rounded corners, new external designs, and new finishes, and new watch bands to go along with it, and of course, the introduction of the EKG, and also the first 64-bit architecture on a watch, so boot ups and app loading times and startups when installing an update and that kind of thing really got to be somewhat usable on the Series 4. Series 5 was also somewhat minor because the biggest change was that always-on display, but it did at least impact every single Apple Watch Series 5. It wasn't an option like cellular was for the Series 3. So I admitted last year that the Series 5 was still a fairly substantial upgrade for those who did care about always-on display, because there are some of you out there that are like, I need the watch to display the time at all times. I'm not doing this raise to wake thing. I don't want to flick the wrist. I just want it to always be displaying content, and to those people, you finally got it. And now, Series 6 is just blood oxygen level monitoring and the slightly brighter always-on display. So it's just little improvements here and there, and an extra health feature, which might be important to a few people, but definitely this is as small as an Apple Watch upgrade as it gets. I think that's why Apple went all out with the new colors and the new watch bands this year, because truth is, the color of the watch and the way the watch bands are built, that's a substantial, I mean, percentage-wise, that's a big part of what the watch is. And Apple knows the Apple Watch is just as much a functional piece as it is a fashion piece, and what it looks like and what people buy so they can style themselves is almost just as important, is almost more important this year than is the functionality of the watch and what they're able to change internally that makes a big difference. Again, this year wasn't the year for giant leaps of functionality. The S6 chip is 20% faster, but I don't think anyone was complaining on the S4 chip or S5 chip being too slow. The always-on altimeter is nice, but it's also worth mentioning that came to the Apple Watch SE as well, so that is not exclusive to the Series 6. So if you were waiting for a year to not upgrade your watch and you're happy with your current one, I would say now is probably a good time if you have a Series 4 or 5 to wait and just see what Apple has in store with the Series 7. I feel like now that we've had this Apple Watch design for the past 3 years, might start to make sense for Apple to implement some massive changes to the Apple Watch next year, maybe adopting micro LED displays or thinner bezels or just updated design language of some kind. I'm not sure exactly the direction they're going to take it. There's not a lot of leaks right now, but if you're rocking the Apple Watch Series 3 or older, I would highly advise you check out the SE, because at $280, it is a little bit more expensive than we were expecting, but still, it's a much better value than we thought it was going to be. And I think the greatest feature of the Series 4 compared to the Series 3 was that updated design language in this display, and the fact that you can get that updated design and new look for around $300, I think is well worth it, and that S5 chip is going to be much, much faster than the CPU you were experiencing on your Series 3, which is a lot older, a lot slower, and compass, right? We all needed that compass. That was a crucial feature that the SE finally has, thank God. Obviously, I mean, if you really just care about colors and new finishes because it looks cool and it looks new, and you've got the disposable income, you know, you're not going to go bankrupt. Please, for the love of God, don't put put the Apple Watch Series 6 on a monthly installment plan on your Apple Card just because you wanted a red one. Don't do that, please. Now is not the time, guys. But by all means, it's your money. Do whatever you want. If you want just a newer design, or you stumbled upon some extra money, I guess, and you want to buy the latest Apple Watch, go ahead. But just keep in mind that this is one of the tiniest upgrades ever, so really don't feel like you need to go out and buy it now. Truth is, the future of the Apple Watch, if they don't decide to start updating some things that are a bit more major, like the display, or think about adding a camera or something, which I don't want, but I feel like they're going to get desperate and they're gonna feel like they have to add it. Design and colors and watch bands being updated might be what the future of Apple Watch upgrades are. They're just Apple announcing new colors, new fashion trends, and because it's a watch and it's a fashion piece, that's kind of a big part of it. And functionality wise, I feel like they're kind of running out of things to add, and 2020 is kind of proof of that. But of course, I could be wrong, so let me know what you guys think the Series 6 is such a big deal for, and this is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.